guys. Welcome back to my Steps to Sobriety, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stefan Neff. Today's another fantastic day for an interview because I've got David Hollenbach with me. David is the author of Fireproof. And David is a man who has got a secret superpower. His secret superpower is that he changed his own core belief of failure, of just, this kind of word that immediately brings up shame and guilt and all those negative emotions. He changed that into a true driving force to turn your future into the bright, beautiful thing that it should be. And that's an amazing attitude. And I want to know, where was this transformation coming from? So, David, you're a great man. Welcome to my show.
Thank you for having me, Stefan. Stefan, right?
That is correct.
All right, cool. It's been quite a journey. And like you alluded to, failure is the source of shame and that negative self-talk, the horrible things that we tell ourselves when we do something stupid, when we act human. It was actually my fiance. It was when we first started dating, and there's those early struggles with a young relationship, but I was still on this journey of healing from PTSD, from healing from some really poor decisions on my part, decisions that led me down this road of self-destruction. I mean, I almost ended everything because that's how miserable I was. I didn't see a way that I could overcome the pain that I was feeling and the shame that I was feeling. And just, I never thought that anybody could look at me in a positive light. And, I have a 15-year-old daughter that is the most important human being in my life. And it was her picture on the visor of my truck. I had aimed my truck at a brick wall doing about 90 miles an hour, and I had rolled the windows down, unbuckled my seatbelt, and let go of the steering wheel, and looked up to ask for forgiveness. And I think that's really what was going through my mind. Because I look up, and there on my visor is a picture of me holding my daughter on the day that she was born. And it was in that instant that I slammed on the brakes, and everything went black. And clearly, it wasn't just like I'm doing this at a sober moment in my life. I was tanked. I had been drinking all day. I was just trying to numb everything. And so, I found myself in this really deep pit of like hopelessness. And I, felt like all my friends were done with me. My family had disowned me. This is all the stuff that I was telling myself, and so I was like, I was ready, and then that realization that I was not ready to do that to my daughter. That's when I slammed on the brakes. Everything went black. I really have no recollection of that moment until the next morning when I woke up in my bed. My truck was in my driveway. No recollection of how it got there. I'm pretty sure I drove it there, but there's no memory of that. And when I woke up, I broke emotionally. I just man, that ugly crying, the sobbing, and just that guttural
Yeah. Oh yeah.
guttural pain. Like there's the shame that already existed, and now you're piling on the shame of look what I almost did. Um, Embarrassment, and I started on this path to just try and put the pieces back together. I started really digging deep, learning more about myself. I had lost my career. I had spent 23 years in the fire service. And because of mistakes I made in my personal life, I lost everything. Um, and that was a career that I built. I was, to toot my own horn, I was really, really good at my job. I was very well respected. I had done a lot of really awesome things, and that was my identity. And now it wasn't. So
How does it come that you open your mouth and my words come out of it? It's scary, man. It's scary, brother. Um, Dave, let's go back a little bit. What made you so good in your job?
uh, the dedication, the just I felt that I think that it was part like looking back now, I feel that there was an addiction there. I was addicted to
Yeah.
um, that identity. I was addicted to the recognition. Um, I loved how I would overhear my daughter talking proudly about her daddy that was the chief of special operations. It was like
Huh.
pride, but I got addicted to that, and so it was constant training on my days off. I would take vacation so I could go to training, and geez.
You're the same like me. It's exactly the same. Adrenaline junkie or recognition jumpy.
And
Junkie, not jumpy. So it's basically, but the question is, why? What happened in your childhood? I mean, for me, there was some trauma in my childhood, and there was some probably loneliness and probably lack of recognition, lack of approval, lack of something to hold on to, so that I was constantly searching. And then when I found it in my work, I just loved it. So I think I became a workaholic before I became an alcoholic. So I think that is fair to say, because I could lose myself in my work. Also, my PTSD made me a very good doctor because I was hypervigilant. I was constantly on the go, and therefore it's hard to catch me out. So therefore, I'm hunting what is actually the root cause of you having chosen to be a firefighter and having chosen to go out there and live that life. They need certain men and certain women go down this route, but many of us are already broken before we start.
oh yeah, totally. It Luckily, I have done a lot of self exploration, and I've got some good answers for you. Uh, it's Yeah, my okay. So I'm sure that you and your audience is familiar with the ACE study, adverse childhood experiences, and you know when you have a certain score, there are certain things that you could predict about a person's adulthood. Um, to just kind of brush over, my score is an 8. So I was
Destined.
Yeah, I was destined to like do a lot of bad stuff, and but the thing is that I found that, well, first off, you feel like you're the only one, and the reality is that there's so many people out there that have struggled with the same shit and feel like they're the only ones in and it's that self-isolation that perpetuates this sorrow, this like, ugh, I'm such a piece of shit, and like overachieving to prove that you're not a piece of shit. And so mine goes back to, it was pre kindergarten. Um, my mom and dad got divorced when I was 5 years old. Prior to the divorce, they were separated, and my mom had she was struggling with some mental. Uh, she had some psychological issues, and she was struggling. She ended up attempting suicide. She ended up going into a home, but there was a period of time where I was being looked after by different individuals. And at one point, I was physically abused really, really bad, um, like beaten like a dog. I was sexually abused, and these are family members. And then to try and tell my mother and have her say, "Oh, that would never happen. They would never do that," and just dismiss this trauma and say that it never happened. Um, I That began this lack of trust. I couldn't trust anybody. Um, and there was a period of time where I had this toxic view towards women, and I know it is directly related to my mother and to the woman that beat me like a dog. Um, and thankfully, there has been a lot of amazing women in my life that have made it very clear that it's not every woman. As a matter of fact, it's just a small percentage of women that and men that are just horrible people. You can't paint everybody with the same brush. And so there's some of like some poor behavior on my part, where it was very easy for me to move from relationship to relationship or have multiple relationships at one time and just
Dave, you're recounting my life. Okay, your words. It actually gives me goosebumps. My parents divorced at 4. She was a woman challenged by her demons. Everything you say could be me. And it's so scary. And that reflects here we are on different sides of the world, for crying out loud. We are sort of the same age group. Yet you were at one stage in your life, you were convinced that that only ever happens to you. You're so, no, it's all me. And I had the same. When you said the sobbing, I sat in my garage. Honestly, sweat, snot, tears, everything coming out, fueled by maybe a bottle or two of vodka. Man, this is here 2 men, completely unrelated, sharing exactly the same key moments in their lives. Guys, you guys out there listening in, you are not alone. Here are 2 guys. We've just met, yet there are so many similarities. Can you imagine, guys, if you were to go out there and actually openly talk to maybe a bunch of men or women for that matter, who are coming together with the destiny to actually tell such stories, could you imagine that maybe you will find similar aha moments like me right now, where you think, bloody hell, it's not just me? And I think that is one of the key messages already to take home from your story and from my story. You guys out there, you are not alone. But maybe Dave and me just have been so lucky to have gone through so much shit, which forced us so far outside of our comfort zone, so that we're actually ready to take action. And yeah, we will come to that. But it's Dave, you're an amazing man, and I don't know if I should say that I'm sorry to hear that you had to go through all that. I'm
Well,
not. Are you
and that's
sorry?
really, well, that's the thing. There's all these things that have caused so much pain in our lives, but where I'm at right now in my life, I would not be here if not for all of that shit. And
Exactly.
and so I, as much as I don't like having the nightmares, I don't like having the thoughts in my head that the memories. As much as I don't like that, I feel that those experiences have prepared me even more for the life of service that I feel that I was designed for.
Wow. It's beautiful because I feel exactly the same. And uh, I mean, you have got so much trauma heaped into your early life. And then you basically grew up and you threw yourself into the rescuer role, into the knight in shining armor. And of course, that is a very intoxicating kind of thing. For me, it's the same as a doctor. You're the hero, and it's beautiful. And I loved it. One of your first sentences was that you actually identified yourself completely with that role. For me, for a time, when you asked me, who are you? I said, I'm Stefan Neff, I'm a pain physician. No, I mean, who are you? No, I just told you, I'm a pain physician. I'm a doctor, I'm a pain physician. I could not answer that. I had lost myself completely. I could only identify with this rescuer role that I was playing and taking on with far too much of a vigor. Does that sound familiar with you?
Yes, absolutely.
25 years, you were saying you were in the service, in the fire service?
23 years.
23 years.
23 years.
May I touch upon the harder question? I mean, which decisions led to your downfall, so to speak?
Well, and this is, I get into it in the last chapter of my book. So I'm going to give you guys an exclusive. So and the book builds on this. I talk about quite a few of my failures, and there's more that ties into this downfall. I had spent 23 years in some really busy firehouses. That's where all the action was. That's where the fires were. That's where the trauma calls. That is where I felt like I could do the most good, but I also saw the worst side of humanity. Um, the things that people can do to one another, um, and see how horrifically a human body can break. And it's just like I got to a point where my my personality was changing. Um, I knew that I needed to get help, but I was telling myself and telling the people around me that, no, I'm tougher than that. Like this, I got it. Uh, and and I was drinking more and more. Wasn't sleeping because when I went to sleep, I had horrific nightmares that sometimes resulted in me breaking stuff in my bedroom, and um, it just uh,
I'm laughing because I nearly broke my toe once, because I tried to kick someone and without any response in my dream, and I kicked stronger, and the wall happened to be there. Don't I know it? My God, man.
so I had my marriage fell apart. There's some other things that happened that really led to this. Just I was married for 13 years, and when it ended, it was my wife that asked for the divorce, and I felt like it came out of the blue. The reality is that it had been coming, and I just hadn't been paying attention. And my my moods were erratic, and I couldn't understand why she was doing this to me, and then a series of relationships with women that I really should not have been with happened, and I ended up in a relationship with a woman that I thought I could trust. I had known her for a long time, and so I have always been kind of like this. I want to be the guy that helps. I want to be the knight in shining armor. I'm going to come to your rescue. And this woman, she had a 5-year-old son. She had a lot of medical bills, student loans, blah, blah, blah. And she didn't make a lot of money. And she needed a place to stay. So I allowed her to move herself and her 5-year-old son into my house. No rent. I paid for everything. I paid off her car. I paid off her student loans, paid off her medical bills. I gave her money for an attorney so that she could take her ex to court because he wasn't paying child support. Well, then I started like going, well, if she doesn't have any money, how is it that she keeps on getting new stuff? And so here I am, I'm working more than I ever had, making more money than I had ever had, and in more debt than I'd ever been in. So I asked her to show me her bank statements. And that is when I realized I had been taken. I had been conned. I'd been scammed. And I was just like, oh my God, you get out of my house, get out of my house. And she refused. So I had about 5 more months left on the lease. And I was like, okay, when my daughter is with me, so I have my daughter every other week. When my daughter's with me, I'll be present. The weeks that my daughter is with her mother, there's no reason for me to be here. And I told her that if she doesn't move out, I'm just gonna I'm gonna wait until the lease is up, and then I'm gonna move somewhere else, and she can do whatever she wants. But she couldn't afford the house, so uh, that's how things were going. Well, and so remember, I told you I'm struggling with PTSD. I'm chasing I'm chasing that dopamine fix. I am chasing that recognition. I want to feel good. I want people to tell me that they like me. And here I've got this woman that had been professing her love, and and here she was lying all along and stealing from me essentially. Um, And so I just really would have, I could have been taken advantage of again and again and again, really the way that I was mentally. But I was mentoring several firefighters, several fire officers, and one of the firefighters that I was mentoring was a young female firefighter, very, very beautiful, like 20 years younger than me. And she expressed an attraction towards me, which blew my mind. And I did not think about any repercussions about the optics of that or anything. And so I began this relationship with this young firefighter. And she fell in love and had written some letters. And here I am, not sleeping hardly at all, and I couldn't remember where those letters went. uh, I had put them in a folder, and put that folder in my backpack, and my backpack was in my closet. Never, but I did not consider like that anybody would ever. Quite frankly, I just didn't know where they were. Uh, and the ex that was still living in my house had decided that she was going to go through my stuff. I don't know what she was looking for, but she found those letters and confronted me. And I was like, well, are you kidding me? Like, you don't like it? Well, then get your stuff and get out. Here's just another reason for you to move out. Go. And she became very verbal. She became physical. And I have security cameras around my house, and thankfully they were running, because that is really what saved me from being charged. I was arrested for domestic violence. She actually called 911 and said that I had, this is what she said, that I had headbutted her. When they asked, well, did he grab you? Did he hit you? Did he hit you with anything? Did he try and prevent you from leaving? And she was like, no, he didn't touch me. He just headbutted me. And on the video with them interviewing her, the cops were like, okay, he headbutted you. And so they took her word and they arrested me, and she put on a really good act. But when I provided the security camera footage to my attorney, and they provided it to the state attorney, uh, everything went away. I was never charged with anything. It just was dissolved. But the day after my arrest, she went to my department and filed a complaint with the department. And there were things going on at the department that I had been vocal about. And it just seemed like I had lobbed them a softball and they were able to just crush it. And I was gone. And I thought never in a million years would they get rid of me. I mean, I'm so valuable. Like, look at all the things I've done for this department. And they did not give a shit. They were like, look how you made us look on the news. And we're gonna sever ties. Bye-bye. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter that the woman that called 911 was lying her ass off. It didn't matter. That was that. The
When did that happen?
That was 2019, the end of 2019, and I actually signed my termination paperwork. And just this is one of those things that like really sticks in your craw where uh, this is the fourth largest metropolitan fire department in the state of Florida. And I was one of the higher ranking individuals, and they had me meet two chief officers in the parking lot of a grocery store to sign my termination papers because they did not want me going because I'm so crazy.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, it was insulting, and it just felt like this huge betrayal.
I mean, for much of my life, I was seething with anger and resentment. Were these emotions that are very familiar to you too?
Oh, yeah.
Did they come out to play at work? So was there other ammunition there for your department to actually get rid of you?
So the other ammunition was this. I had been made aware of some inappropriate behavior toward women in the department. And this happened long before any of my, me understanding what was going on financially with the ex. I had discovered that there was some really bad behavior going on. And when I approached different women, they were like, oh, yeah, that's all the time. What, are you kidding me? And like, you've got to report it. Oh no, I'm not going to be that girl. And I just, what do you mean you're not going to be that girl? Like, this can't go on. Like, oh no, I will get treated so much worse. I would rather just deal with this bullshit than what would come after me reporting it. And so I went to my boss. I told him, this is what I've got. None of the women that I'm speaking with are willing to report anything. But what is happening is I believe that this has created a culture in which predators feel as though they can get away with anything. And they're getting more and more bold with the actions that they're taking. And I can give you names and I can give you actions, but none of the women will go on record to say who did what. And it was like, well, then we don't have anything. And I'm like, we have knowledge that this is going on and something has to be done. None of the women feel safe coming forward. Like, would you want your daughter to work in an environment like that? Would you want your wife, your mother, whatever? No. So we have to do something. It's our obligation. And so that went up the chain, and meetings were scheduled and canceled and scheduled and canceled and scheduled and canceled. And that went on up until the point that I got arrested.
Oh, fuck me. Oh, fuck me. But that's a classic life, isn't it? And that is the clusterfuck of weird things that we experience in our daily lives. There is not a life where not office politics can be very toxic, and even toxic to a degree of abuse, sexual, emotional, verbal abuse. There will be nasty people around us. 1 in 10 people have personality disorders. 1 in 100 people are psychopaths and sociopaths. So it's a given that at any one time you are meeting those people. And unfortunately, if they take a liking of you, then you are knee-deep in shit. Plus, then life has got its own ideas about throwing challenges your way. So here you were already on the back foot, basically not trusting anyone, being completely relying on yourself, being proud of that, being that type A personality, the knight in shining armor, going out there, being the man, the fixer, the man who is coming to the rescue. And then suddenly, slowly but surely, you're stripped of absolutely fucking everything. Your beliefs, your hopes, your dreams, your identity. Your identity, you were identifying as a fire officer, and you were proud of that. And suddenly that got slashed and your name dragged through the gutter. Now, if that is not betrayal, then I don't want to know. Bloody hell. What was the most you drank in response to that? That would have been a bottle and a half, a liter and a half of vodka for me.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Yeah, exactly. God. Oh man. I feel for you. I without going into too much details, again, your story very much resembles so much that I've gone through. And yeah, it's, guess what? You don't come out unscathed of something like that. It's brutal. Then came that moment when you thought, okay, enough is enough now. And luckily, that picture of your daughter was there. What did your daughter think at that time? How old was she at that time?
So she's 15 now, 2019. So
13.
she was just turning, she had just turned 13.
Has she, I mean, she would have experienced a lot of the things that happened with you. Do you think you were a good dad to her?
Yeah, I actually I took the time to explain things to her. Um, I I took ownership. I said, you know,
Wow.
I
Wow.
made some bad mistakes.
Wow.
You know,
did she understand it, or was she still too
yeah,
young?
I believe that she understood. Um, she's very, very intelligent, and she's emotionally intelligent.
Beautiful.
We and I love being her father, and I feel like I have done a really good job in spite of my shortcomings. I feel like I've done like the best job I've ever done with anybody. Like with, you know, I love mentoring, I love coaching people, I love developing leaders, and I feel like she is going to do some amazing things in this world, and I'm just happy to be somebody that's showing her the tools that are available to her because she's brilliant. She's brilliant. And so I have talked to her through the past few years about what happened to me and how important it is um, that when we make mistakes, well, first off, don't be afraid to make mistakes because the value that we gain from those lessons uh, can't be measured. I think it's yeah, there's some pain that comes along with mistakes, but the growth that comes from that is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And you can't really identify that in the moment, but when you see how everything plays out and you look back and you're like, well, if not for that, I would not be this person. And I would not have been able to help that person, that person, that person. I, I really believe that the bad stuff that has occurred in my life, whether it was done by my actions or by the actions of others, like it I feel like I've become a pretty good man, and I feel like what I represent to my daughter is something that I can be proud of.
And if you look at it from a rather maybe superficial kind of constantly seeking approval, constantly seeking validation, constantly living up to the perception of others, you now have found the strength and the resilience within you, integrity, humility, authenticity. Those kind of words suddenly mean something to you because you're actually truly, truly practicing and displaying them every day. There is a beautiful book called Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink, and it is an amazing book and an amazing principle of holding yourself accountable for your actions. And he describes it within a hierarchy to say that if a man below you fucks up, then you need to ask yourself, well, have you taught the man right? Did you give him the right tools? Did he explain the mission in the correct way? If someone above you fucks up, then the question is, well, did you provide that person with the right information and the right guidance so that he can make the correct choices? And to actually look at it from that angle, it actually suddenly a lot of my own, maybe not so nice things that happened in my life, I was able to actually re-look at things and actually realize, maybe there's a bit of a shortcoming there for me too. And that actually helped me quite a bit with my anger and resentment, to actually look at the way I played a role in many of those things. And that's where the 12 steps come in. I mean, I've written about that in my steps to sobriety. If it's the principle or the step 4 and 5, where you take a brutal inventory of what is going on in your life. And that's really, really hard to do when you're alone. I mean, that's where then mentors come in, and then people who actually can listen to you and guide you in what you're doing and listen to what you're saying. And more importantly, listen to what you're not saying. And it's those kind of things that make you the human that you're destined to be. It's doing the hard work. And for you, you've had so much trauma, and it came in layers. Inevitably, your healing will just not be one fairy queen coming in with a little poof and you're all sorted. Fuck me. Your healing will continue, and healing comes in layers. So there you were on that evening, coming around in the car, realizing what you have just done. What happened then? How did your transformation and how did the first part of your healing start?
The first part of the healing started when I've completely it was like I had to give up all the anger and everything that I was holding on to, like that feeling of betrayal, and like they did this to me, they did that to me, look what they lied about me here, and look at all the stuff that they have done to me. Woe is me. I had to give up all of that. Like who am I right now? And how can I become better because of this?
Who helped you
And
there? Who gave you that insight?
well, funny enough, uh, prior to all this going on, this was some stuff that I was mentoring other firefighters with.
Oh, oh, priceless, priceless. Same with me. I could detect a depression a mile away in a patient. Did I see it in myself or the PTSD? No. Priceless.
So, yeah, I had all these notebooks with this stuff written out. I mean, I've been studying philosophy and Buddhism, and I mean, if you look back throughout history, our humankind's greatest thinkers have all contemplated all this stuff. The struggle of life and what does it all mean, and you know uh, Taoism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism. There's, all these, all of the world's great religions, great philosophies, great thinkers. When you look throughout them, there's all this valuable information, and I feel like there's this common thread through all of it that we're all here for one another. We feel most complete when we're adding value to somebody else. And that sense of fulfillment, that sense of happiness that we're all searching for, when we're, and this is how I relayed this thought to a couple other people. If you imagine teaching your child something that they've been struggling with, and they want to do really good at this, and you're teaching them and you're teaching them, and then you sit back and you watch them accomplish what they've been struggling to do, and they're proud of themselves, and you're like, yes, good for them, and you celebrate them. That, to me, is that the purest form of fulfillment, when you weren't doing that for you. You were doing that all for them, and it feels amazing. And so I really do believe that when we work really hard to add value to ourselves so that we're better able to add value to the people that we care about, to the teams that we work with, to the community that we live in, when we add value to ourselves for that purpose, we're already getting better because of that, but it's being able to pass that on that I think is where the real value comes in. And so that is what led me to start my podcast, what led me to write the book in its current form, because I had been writing a leadership book for like 10 years, and it just kept on changing, and I kept on like going, this is stupid. And it was just another textbook. And there's so many of those. I didn't want it to be that. And then this happens, and I'm like, what I would really want to read myself is somebody's authentic story of how they fucked up and how they overcame that. How did they pull themselves out of that hole? And why? Because when you're in that hopeless state, like what reason do you have to pull yourself out of there? So I just I wanted to be very authentic with the things that I wrote in the book, and I'm like, I left out details that of calls that I ran that really messed with my head just because I didn't want to traumatize anybody else. But I've seen some really horrific things that put me back on my heels. And I'm not the last person that's going to see that stuff. And I'm not the last person that's going to struggle with PTSD or substance abuse or depression or any of that stuff. And I feel like the message is that when we've made it through all that, I don't know that it's our job to prevent others from experiencing it, but we're in a much better place to help others overcome those terrible places that we can find ourselves in.
Mm.
Help pick them up and just reassure them that, this isn't it. This isn't the last challenge that you're going to face, but this is one that can make you so much stronger. Just trust me, I'm going to be right here with you. And so I think that a lot of times I think it's human nature to try and find a reason why we've had to endure something. Um, but sometimes I really don't know that there is a reason.
Yeah, it's always good to have a philosophically good reason why, but yeah, I agree with you. But I mean, here you are. It's interesting. You're 2 years or 3 years down the line from one of the lowest parts in your life. Yet you have come up already with this complete picture. It took me probably about 5 years from getting sober to doing the work, basically, to actually see the bigger picture. My PTSD was always there, but I didn't see it for what it was. So that really only about 3 years ago was when the whole picture suddenly emerged, because I was still only focusing on parts of my trauma, parts of my what was going on in my life. And I loved it to explore today with you, to go to your childhood, see how you were set up to endure this perfect storm, and that ultimately derailed you and basically sank your ship. So the same thing happened in my life, but it took me probably a bit longer than you to learn what really was going on from start to finish. And with that, again, I wanna impress on others that it takes time. It takes intention. It takes conscious effort to take action to get better. It does not fall in your lap. It does not suddenly happen. And you stopping drinking, congratulations on doing that, please. If you have just achieved that, I'm rooting for you. Well done. But that's only the start. Okay,
Yeah.
sobriety. Yeah, that sounds cool. It looks like an insurmountable task when you're in the clutches of addiction. But the moment you actually stop using, then comes the hard time, because you're actually now have to deal with these negative emotions that let you down that very slippery slope of drinking more and more, or behaving in the way that you have. Let that be gambling, sex addiction, eating disorders, or all of the above. So it is, you have been hiding. You have been pushing those hard steps away. You kept yourself either busy, like me, being either a workaholic or an alcoholic. I didn't have to deal with the trauma. And then suddenly, yep. And that's the hard one. But that's where the magic happens. That's where the healing happens. That's where you get to appreciate the choices that you can make every moment in your life. This is when you truly learn that you can transform, and you become convicted. You become clear in your mind, resolute in your mind that actually, yes, change is possible. And that is wonderful. Baby steps, tiny steps, but if you actually do compound interest, tiny steps every day into the right direction. And every day you deal maybe with one scenario, talk through it with someone that you trust. Maybe start off with your GP or family physician or primary care physician. Maybe he can guide you with a psychologist. Maybe you can find your own tribe. Whatever trauma you have endured in your life, or whatever trauma right now impresses most upon you, figure out where are the other guys or girls who have gone through the same trauma. Are they having some rare coffee and playing golf or God knows what? And you will be amazed. You will be absolutely amazed. I think the biggest thing I had to learn was, wow, how many other people are out there who had the same or similar fights, who have struggled with alcohol, who are now clean. My goodness, it is heaps. I mean, you are now out there, Dave. You're literally putting your money where your mouth is. Tell us a bit about your life now, because you're 3 years down the line. You are now going out and grabbing the bull by its horns. What you've started your show, you've written your book. Now what?
Well, it started actually. I was very close to just deleting all the recorded episodes that I had had. I was close to deleting my book, and I had met this individual. I actually interviewed him on my podcast. I hadn't even published that interview, and so this guy is a retired Navy SEAL, and we were talking. He told me his story. I told him mine, and after the interview, he said, "Listen, I'm involved with uh, this nonprofit in South Dakota. I live in Florida. Never in a million years did I ever think that I would go to either Dakota uh, for any reason, but uh, here he's telling me that I've got to go to this retreat that was specifically designed with veterans and first responders in mind, and it's completely free. It's funded by uh, donations and just fundraisers, people that are passionate about helping our veterans and first responders. So I end up going. I was the guy that I think everybody there thought that I wasn't going to talk because I felt out of my element. I felt that a couple of people there didn't deserve to hear my story. I was angry. I was just not in a good place. But then I ended up opening up. I got to know the group well enough, and I had heard their stories, and I was like, holy shit, these people are me. It didn't matter their occupation, their what their trauma was, the experience, like the emotional experience, that is what we struggle with. And so I opened up and I just emptied it all out, and it was amazing. And I bonded with this individual. He was one of the mentors there. This guy, 20 plus years in the Air Force, had done, I want to say it was like 13 or 16 combat deployments, during his career. And prior to retirement, he was T-boned and paralyzed in an auto accident. So now he is a paraplegic and volunteering at this retreat center to help other vets and first responders that are struggling with PTSD. So he and I bonded, and it just so happened that he lives in Florida, about 5 hours from me. And we connected, and now, so interesting enough, another individual that was there, I am now engaged to.
Priceless.
I mean, it was just, we developed these friendships and we all talk. This group of people that were there at that time, we all talk every week. We're like family. And so this individual, his name is James Tipton. He got involved with a group that it's a stand up and play foundation. So people that are paralyzed get these motorized wheelchairs with big wheels that can travel on the golf course. And they've got the hydraulics so that when you approach and you get in position to swing your club, it raises you up, you stand up,
Yeah.
you hit your ball, and so that is one aspect of it, getting wounded warriors and disabled vets, disabled first responders to be able to do something and hang out with the guys or hang out with the gals and bond and talk shop or whatever. But to be there and share and be a part of a community. Mm. And on top of that, it's available. Another aspect of it is helping children with disabilities. So bringing them out and helping them learn the game of golf. And it's just this way for everybody to heal just a little bit, to feel valuable. And so I got involved with this group, and it's been amazing. It's an incredible group of people, and
so you found your tribe. You found your tribe to help and to be part of and give back. Yeah. It's just the 12 step in the 12-step program. And it's one of the most powerful and beautiful things. What made you doubt about your book? What made you doubt about your show? Why did you want to delete that?
I was still struggling with, who am I? Why would anybody want to listen to anything I have to say? Why would anybody read my book? Like,
bullshit.
That was, I mean, it was all those negative things that we tell ourselves. Oh. And it was my fiance at the time, we were dating, and she was telling me, like, you need to stop being so nasty to yourself. Because, I still, in the beginning of our relationship, I was just struggling with so much stuff, self-doubt and like, still, but she's an amazing woman. She was a Army medic, served over in Iraq, has some combat injuries. She's got 2 Purple Hearts, and she's actually the commander of the Order of the Purple Hearts, the local chapter here. And these are like, Vietnam vets that are, salty as hell, and they picked her to be their commander. That's how amazing she is. She's just But when she came back, she put herself through school. She became a licensed clinical social worker. She works with combat vets with PTSD and victims of military sexual trauma. She helps them heal. And so she's got some skills that I haven't fully developed yet, but she's been helping me. And one of the things that she said to me was, why do you think you talk to yourself that way? And I'm like, well, I just don't feel good about myself. And, I'm like, I want to do better. And she's like, well, would you talk to your daughter that way to make her do better? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. She was like, why not? Why not? I'm like, because it wouldn't work. Well, why do you think it would work for you? And
Oh,
I'm
priceless.
like, it blew my. I'm like, wow, yeah, you got a point there.
Oh, priceless.
So there comes a time when, I mean, you have to have that self-awareness of when you're doing it to yourself and take a minute and go, wait a second, let me let me encourage myself to do better. Let me talk to myself about all the amazing things that I have done, the things that I've done right, the let me talk about that to myself and say, let me apply that same energy, that same effort, that same expertise, that same passion into doing this because that is what's going to make it happen. And giving yourself some grace for the stupid shit that you do, because that's what everybody does.
Yep. Yep.
And,
That's so true.
and,
Give
and
yourself
if we,
permission to fuck up.
yeah,
And it's normal. It's normal. You're a normal human being. You can't be perfect 100% of the time. I don't know where we get this perception from that, oh my God, I made a little mistake and let it be whatever it is. And you beat yourself up for it. It's a habit. It's a habit that you have created to beat yourself up. You can create different habits. You can actually create a habit of pausing before you use the whip. Actually, to just double check. Hang on, why did you fuck up? Maybe ask yourself that. And for me, it's often enough that I'm hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Halt is a nice mnemonic that I use. And if I am hungry, angry, lonely, so 3 out of them, then there is a good chance that maybe I don't make as good choices, regardless what we are now talking about. And if there are 4 of them, well, I might even have the idea to have a drink, or I might have the idea of doing something really stupid because I have not looked after myself. I've not looked after the basics of my body, my needs. I did not look after my needs, what really I truly desire. And yeah, hang on, man. So there is a lot of work that we can do. There's a lot of insights that you can develop, but it doesn't happen just like that.
no.
You need to talk. You need to share your story, and you need to spell it out loud. So it's interesting. You had written your book. So you actually put already your story in words, but then you had to go to the retreat to suddenly realize, hang on. So obviously something you telling the story there was different than you telling the story in the book. And that often happens. And that's what I mean. Healing comes in layers. You tell the same story 10 times, and the 11th time, your brain just changes the words ever so mildly, and suddenly it's like an out-of-body experience, and you sort of think, what did just come out of my mouth? And that is the breakthrough that you needed to move to the next level. And it is beautiful. That is just fantastic for me when I experienced that. And I embrace those moments. I embrace them for what they are. They're gifts for me to move forward and to develop further. And I can't wait for more things like that to happen. Do I say that I can't wait for more challenges to happen? Well, actually, right now, it feels like every 6 hours some disaster happens, and you just say, oh, come on, give me a break. What do you do when you get frustrated?
Yeah, I've been struggling with that recently. One of the things that works the best for me is I've got a heavy bag and a hydro bag hanging up out on my back porch, and I just beat the hell out of it. I got to get some exercise,
Yep.
but it helps. It helps a lot. The other thing is getting enough sleep, which I struggle with when I'm struggling. I struggle to sleep, and it's that piece that I really, really need,
Mm,
or else I just keep on struggling.
yeah. Oh, man. Dave, you're an amazing man. You're an amazing man, and you're still on this path to true recovery, same as I am. And in some aspects, you're a bit further than me. In other aspects, I've overtaken you. But bottom line is, we are far from the finish. Hell, the finish will be
Yeah.
the deathbed, and I
Yes.
hope that I'm very far away from that. Let's be clear about that.
Yeah.
I've got so much to do. I've got another 50 years of life at least that I want to live, and that is amazing. Coming from a point where I was ready to throw in the towel, like you, and to now see that joy coming out of me, truly coming out of my mouth, listening to these words make me smile because I've seen how far I've already come. Do I celebrate how far I've come? No. Still same shit as with you. No, we look at the negative things. Look, you still need to do all those things. You don't look back and say, bloody hell, have I done all that? When is a time that we actually celebrate our achievements? And guess what? Now is a pretty good start. Because right now, you guys out there, you have just listened to our show. You have just done an hour of therapy with us. Hey, this is an achievement. Celebrate that. Celebrate it by having a big glass of water, down it, and say, wow, now I've hydrated. So I've done something for my soul. I've done something for my body. You've done 2 things already, 2 wins. Hey, congratulations. So if you were to start looking at your life like that, what's the next choice you could do to actually move you either forward into your mental health well-being or maybe drag you backwards? Well, look at it like opportunities. Hey, do every second like that, every minute like that, every hour like that. You will be amazed where your life is going. And what else could you do? Maybe buy Fireproof. Maybe buy Dave's book and actually check it out, because here was this man telling the truth, the honest truth, blood, tears, all. And more importantly, his transformation and his insights how to turn failure into such a powerful, powerful driving force that it really makes things happen. Wow. So, Dave, where can people buy your book?
On my website. So this is really cool, actually. I'm not sure when this will air, but October 11th is the official release, where it will be available on all the major book selling platforms, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all that. Um, but right now, the only place that you can get it is on my website. If you are in another country outside the continental US, I would say wait, or you can actually pre-order it on Amazon, because like the shipping is a little ridiculous to order it, and uh, I've shipped a couple of books to Australia, and
I know it makes your eyes water, doesn't it? The postage.
Oh, well, I was flattered. Like, man, they really wanted my book. But yeah, it's available on my website, hollenbachleadership.com. All of my social media links are on there. Um, I have a page of resources that it's all about PTSD. There's resources for veterans, there's for resources for first responders, and then there's just like really helpful information about the ACE study, about what PTSD is, and a lot of different therapies that are available. So all that is on there. And then I've got the Fireproof store. So if you want to go there and learn more about me, there's a link to my podcast there as well. Yeah, there's a bunch on there.
Guys, look down there into the description of the YouTube video and of the podcast, because all the links are down there. And whilst you're down there, press the like and the subscribe button that you don't miss out on all these amazing people that I have got the honor of interviewing. Dave, you're a great man, and it's beautiful that what has happened to you and to what it led to you now being the light in the darkness of others. And that's so beautiful, especially for people like you and me who have been in the darkness ourselves. And when it's pitch black, it's so easy to lose hope and feel really despondent. And that nowadays there is still a bit darkness in me, but it's talking to people like you that make me realize, no, this darkness is trying to lie to me, is trying to convince me of things that are not true. And therefore, this is an ongoing struggle. This is not once and for all, you have beaten the darkness. That only happens in crappy B films. No, this is an ongoing journey. I don't want to call it struggle. It's a journey with new trials, new tribulations, new successes, new failures. But at least now both Dave and I are a little bit better equipped to deal with these failures. Still a struggle, still bloody hard, still don't like it, but hey. Dave, thank you so much for coming on to my show. You're an amazing man. Please keep doing what you're doing and making this world a bit of a better place, one little project at a time, one book at a time. Can't wait to read your book.
Thank you. And I'm humbled that you would have me on your show. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for all the nice stuff you said about me. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm honored that you would have me on and share your platform with me. So thank you very much, Stefan.
Delighted. And you guys out there, come on, don't give up. There is a life waiting for you. So go out there, make the right choice, look after yourself, and live with passion. Bye.